actually is.
Brown drives, layup on the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice his body.
Scoring net, knocked away. Ball game.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. What a week for the Celtics and their fans. Definitely an emotional roller coaster. We've traded for Porzingis. No, the trade is off. Oh, it's back on, but now it's not for Malcolm Brogdon. It's for Marcus Smart. Not to mention the many tradings back from Brad Stevens during the draft on the pod tonight. But just going to hang out and slowly recap it all. Joining us to talk all about it is Hot Take Jake Eisenberg. Jake, how you doing, man? Welcome back.
Man, if you watch it on YouTube, that intro made me sad.
I know. We've got a lot of content updating to do in the offseason.
This occurred to me. One of the ones that we should have in there is Pierce diving for the ball against LeBron. And
Might have to.
Well, we've got shoes to fill. And there he is, just to welcome our New Zealand correspondent, Joe. Joe, how are you, mate? Welcome back.
Well, yeah, I'm bouncing back. I'm getting there. Legit. I mean, I guess we're going to launch into it eventually, but this is not a small thing in my life. Marcus Smart getting traded. Yeah,
it's not a small thing in anyone's life.
Richie, winning all.
Yeah, it's impacted my soul deeply.
Yeah, I've been walking around sad and I was listening to Radiohead the other day, and they had more of a morose band, right? And it was hitting different, right? It was kind of rattling my soul more than it normally would. But before we get to the Marcus stuff, we've got some more immediate news to get to. We will circle back on Marcus Smart. That will be the meat of this podcast. We have to react to the draft. Jake and Spoonie and I did a 4-hour stream, rounding up slightly, but a 4-hour draft stream, which included a lot of frustration, which I think, and we'll talk about it, we're a little bit happy about now, looking back on sort of the assets that Brad managed to acquire. So the tornado of activity from Brad Stevens on that night. Just to recap, so the Celtics trade the number 25 pick to the Pistons for the 31st pick and 2 future second-round picks. Then they trade that 31st pick to the Hornets for number 34 and number 39 in the 2023 second round. Then they trade the 34th pick to the Kings for number 38 and a future second-round pick. And then with that 38th pick, they select Jordan Walsh and keep him so far. And then they trade the 39th pick to the Hawks for a future second-round pick. So a lot of sitting around and waiting for Jake and Spoonie and I on that draft stream, and we walked away with one very, very deep second-round pick in Jordan Walsh, who, dimensionally speaking, dimensionally speaking, looks incredible. Joe, we haven't heard from you in a while, so I'll go to you first. What's your in-depth analysis on Jordan Walsh, the 38th pick for the Celtics?
Looks like Charlie Villanueva. That's my in-depth analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. Manscaped.
Yeah, man. Far out. Winter town. No, you got to be careful, because he might have alopecia. That's actually something we should probably confirm.
No, he does.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. Yeah. Get Jordan Walsh's name out your mouth.
Yeah. Come on the pod, Jordan, if you want.
I was on his Twitch stream today. He's streaming live, just hanging out.
Getting the katana out?
Yeah, he was playing Valorant. I think he was in between games when I happened to. There we go. Yeah,
far out. That was on the.
I missed the meat of it, but this is very interesting. This 2023 version. How old's Walshy? He's 21 or something.
19?
He would have been.
Walshy, yeah. Let's get some.
Yeah, I'm on the Walshy.
Oh, it's Walshy.
Yeah, it's Walshy.
Yeah.
This new age of kids that have come in, streaming to me is still a weird concept where you just sit on and watch someone else play video games or whatever. Granted, I guess we did our own 4-hour stream, but these kids, everybody streams. Everybody's got a channel, and it's you usually wouldn't get that type of access to your draft pick, but he's just on there talking about coming to Boston, talking about Valorant, talking about, I don't know anything about Valorant, but talking about his different builds. and whatnot.
It's a game.
Yeah.
Spoonie would know. Spoonie's a gamer.
Yeah.
Z Gamer would know. Also a gamer.
Yeah, well, no, I don't. I don't. I don't swim in those currents, man. I don't know anything about it. But I like the look of a defensive-minded swingman. That's. I feel like that's. There's sort of certain archetypes in the draft that are worth gambling on, and I feel like people with a defensive mindset get a chance to play. Coaches like them, right? So, but that's it, man. That's all I got. The trading down stuff. I don't think it came through in the chat. My chat disconnected, even though I listened right to the bitter end. I was like, is Brad Stevens just going to keep trading down to the point that like he's waiting for the third round to be added? So
yeah.
Did Brad think that the third round started this year? You can't trade past pick 60, Brad.
We might have the 60th pick for the next 10 years.
And there wasn't even a 59th and 60th pick, I found out, because of tampering. So there was 2 picks that Brad couldn't trade into. That's why he couldn't trade back the last time, was because there was only so many.
Well, here's what we know
about Julius Caesar being sad, or Alexander the Great being sad because there were no more empires left to conquer, or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing. Here's what we know about the kid. He's 19 years old. He's a small forward. He's from Dallas, Texas. He played 1 college season at Arkansas. He's 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. He was a 2022 McDonald's All-American player, and he will wear the number 27 for the Celtics. Assuming he actually gets on the court. Like I'm guessing, we're looking at a 2-way contract. Surely a nice explosive summer league where he sort of jumps off the page and immediately increases his trade value, and then wears number 27. As a 2-way player for the Celtics. Sound fair?
Daniel Tice's number.
Yeah.
Homage.
He's going to start every game with 2 fouls just off the bench.
Yeah. Refs immediately check him as he checks in.
Yeah, we're in the bonus, Walshy. You can't come in yet.
He's going to get some minutes at Summer League. It's kind of a good situation for him to come into.
Yeah.
He's 40 minutes of shots, and
him, JD, and then I saw they've got some other kid, Valerio was one of his 3 names. It's 6'10" wing. So the Summer League team's coming together. Look, if you're going to draft someone at pick 38, you may as well be 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan and be a hyper athlete that's loves playing defense, and then just hope that he figures out how to shoot. Because if he does, then he'll play in the NBA for 15 years.
Yeah, or he might not figure out how to shoot, and he'll play in the NBA for 15 seconds. That's kind of 2 options.
Well, is if he doesn't learn to shoot, is he just Thibault?
Yeah.
He's now
maybe
a free agent.
Oh, is he? Get him in here.
No, we just got Thibault. We got the
new age.
Thibault seems like a good dude, man.
Yeah.
Thibault seems like a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird that he kind of just dropped off, eh?
Well, Philly traded him for Jalen McDaniels, the guy that didn't play in the playoffs.
The guy who can't defend the Jays.
Exactly. So it'll be actually very interesting to see what happens with Thibault, because he never figured out any offense, really. He's kind of a good cutter. What's weird, he was always, whenever he plays for the Boomers in the World Cup or the Olympics, he can hit shots, but then he comes back to the NBA and he's a brick again. So that's just weird.
Tap into that Boomers culture. There's something there.
Yeah, trust me, we know. We try to beat you guys and we never can.
There's
a talent gap as well. Yeah.
Actually, this is a good point from Clean Music Lover. We don't have a good track record developing players. So who were the chances to develop guys? Romeo and Neesmith were the 2 obvious ones, right?
Carson Edwards.
Yeah, see,
he regressed.
That was an awful draft pick in hindsight. The 5'11" volume scorer.
Yep.
That whole thing was a disaster. We drafted Thibault from memory, didn't we?
But I think it was
down.
I think he became Grant. Is that how? I think that's how it works.
I think so. We also drafted Desmond Bain and Tyrese Maxey.
No. We drafted Bain and we traded the rights to him technically to get Enes Kanter, which
that's right.
Yep. Great. Thanks for correcting me. on
Sorry.
that. I forgot about that.
But you know,
Yeah.
Bill Simmons and Zach Lowe spent the last 4 years talking about how much they love Thibault, and Grant Williams was drafted right around there and has been far more impactful at a playoff level than Thibault has. So
Yeah. It's odd. It's odd, man.
yeah.
But anyway, we got Walshy. So
But yeah, I don't know. Development wise, like people are saying, like, yeah, maybe we don't have the internal ability to develop someone like Walshy, because like Romeo, I feel like that was injury related. He just did every time. There was plenty of times where I felt like he was going to click for him, and it never did. And Neesmith, there were also flashes. But
there
he
were
was a really-
flashes.
He did everything but shoot.
yeah.
The one thing
Is
we
that
wanted him to do.
Is that
Yeah.
a flaw on it? There was definitely moments where people wanted Neesmith to play more, but can you say we didn't develop Neesmith? He played here for, was it 2 years?
Yeah. The thing is, if you're a good team, right? If you're a good team, there's just limited opportunities, and rookies have to come in and demonstrate these really discrete skills, right?
Mhm.
Can you catch and shoot three or whatever it is? You know, you're not going to get a chance to build a rhythm or anything like that. You've just got to be good straight away. And if you don't, you're not useful to your team, and it's going to be there for a short time. It's not that they can't develop. It's just that the opportunity isn't presented. Like how many great teams have a development pipeline? You know, like really.
Yeah,
Feels like the Heat
Warriors
have
cooked it.
the development pipeline. Like
Yeah.
you go through their system and you will be, eligible for a rookie max extension no matter how you came into the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're the gold standard, right? I mean, the Raptors were on it for a little while. The Spurs were on it for a little while. But even like a little while ago, wasn't it like, we developed Smart. Avery Bradley was a success story. There were definitely guys in there.
Yeah, when we're a 500 team, right? You know,
Yeah,
and there's an opportunity and there's less expectation. I guess Tatum would have to say.
Yeah.
Tatum and Brown.
The Heat were pretty much a 500 team this year too. So plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, they sucked, man.
Yeah,
I can say it now. I can say it now.
Yeah, Joe. Wow, you and
Sucked
Bill
in the
Simmons
finals.
on that one.
All right. Okay, let's pause that. Summer League starts on July 7th. We'll have a proper
Coming up.
opportunity to evaluate our new guy Walshy, and let's all remember like where we were on Cabin Jelly after the Summer League. Like the Summer League like standouts that don't
Jelly.
necessarily translate. So let's all just take all of that with a grain of salt. So let's move on. So
Jabari
Jake and
Bird,
I
Kadeem
were-
Allen. Remember those
Yeah,
guys?
the
They were
boys.
killers.
Yeah. Oh, Jabari Bird. Jake and I were live streaming when Marcus Smart was traded. And so if you were watching that, you saw Jake and I's live reactions to that. If you haven't seen that clip, it's up on our Instagram. It's up on our Twitter. So go check that out. It's very... I hope to one day find it funny. It's just heartbreaking at the moment. But Joe, you and we've joked about this on the pod prior to getting you back on, that you're probably under Dan Greenberg, maybe the world's most qualified person to do like the monologue on Marcus Smart and why this trade, I don't want to say is detrimental to the Celtics, or maybe you want to say that, but it's devastating to the Celtic fans. So just talk to us about your initial reactions to the Marcus Smart trade, and then maybe how you've sort of come to digest it in the following days.
Well, you have to start with like the whole Porzingis move at the start, like the proposed one with Brogdon, right? And so I wasn't exactly like, I wasn't down on that trade. That's fine. That was a fine trade, but I wasn't like, yay, we're over the top, right? Because we traded Brogdon for Porzingis. I'm just not like a huge believer in Porzingis, I guess. But, with the caveat also that I don't really know any teams other than the Celtics. like I watch enough of the Celtics to have an idea of what our guys do. No, everyone else, I'm really just guessing. But yeah, I just like, I don't really like that. So there's a move there that was the first move we had, right? That was like not exactly setting the world on fire for me. And then I'm like, we traded Marcus Smart for Porzingis. Like, we must have really wanted this dude, And that confused me. It really confused me. And I don't I think I was really sad, like genuinely sad. Like I'm trying to I'm
Same,
trying
right?
to communicate
all were, man.
sincerity here. Yeah.
Dude.
I don't like the move from an identity point of view, right? Which is something that Danger Cart and others have kind of hammered on about. It just feels really regressive to me for that. Like, I've heard the argument made that, hey, if Marcus Smart was such a, ceiling raiser with what he brought intangibles wise, why did we fall short so many times? I just think like that's not the answer. It's like Marcus Smart, I feel like he just made magic happen, and I just feel like he's really underappreciated as a player. And that might seem weird given that there's a lot of argument about him, and argument implies that there's a for side and an against side. But I listen to like Rosillo and stuff, and it's just like I don't know that they get it. I don't know that they get like what he brings. And we'll miss that on our team. But mainly, this is a person who's like been in our lives for 9 years, and I feel like we should be consulted on this sort of stuff happening beforehand, right?
Yeah. Who do we need? Like,
who are
some
you, Brett
professional.
Stevens?
Yeah, you only coached him for
absolutely.
7 years.
So Joe, if you were given the opportunity to talk to the Rosillos of the world, like, how would you try and like explain it to them, the importance of this?
Why is Smart so important to us? Okay. First of all, like I just have a weakness. I have a weakness for Smart, and it's like I probably view his mistakes through a different prism to someone I'm very critical of, like Jaylen Brown, right? I see Smart's mistakes as being kind of born out of his kind of innate creativity. And like Smart was he was a creative defensive player. Like I always think about Ben talking about him as he's a magician. He just magicked things up. And like the happiest moment of like this era, like what was honestly better than that Houston game? Has there been a better moment in the last decade?
I've got the clip right here. Should we run it very quickly?
Yes.
Let's do it. Here we go.
7.3 to go, and a 1-point game. Oh, look out! It'll be Boston ball.
Harden with the offensive foul. And Marv, you and I talked about this all game. It was Smart. It was Nate. It was Larkin. Those guys put in pressure. Remember Larkin getting almost that foul at half court earlier, upping the pressure, putting the guards in a tough position. Harden with the offensive foul.
Harden picks up his third. 7.3 left. Celtics with the ball in their front court. No timeouts remaining. It's a 1-point Houston lead. Here is Horford. Boston by 1. 3.7 to go. Rockets do not have a timeout. Ariza will look to throw it in backcourt. Smart is all over Harden, who does not like it. For the pushing and shoving, and Harden knocks Smart down and is called for another foul. And on that, they lose the ball.
Isn't this the passion we expected? Offense did not.
So good. And late career Marv Albert as well. Yes, like just the best. I couldn't want anyone more on that particular call than Marv Albert. It was absolutely incredible.
That whole thing, like you've got short, like buzz cut Marcus, you've got baby Tatum with no facial hair, Kyrie's on the team,
Pre-corruption Kyrie,
pre-corruption Kyrie,
Still
Chris Paul on the Rockets on the sideline. But Joe, like so we came back from 26 down in that game.
We did.
And that year was was that the year prior? So that was the year before. That was the year we went to the conference finals.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That was what? That was the last magical year we've had, right? I would say the last year where we've like exceeded expectations, because you got to like take into account like Hayward going down, then Kyrie going down. Then after that, we've kind of like met expectations, maybe slightly exceeded, but coming back from 26 down, Like it felt like that group of guys that year and the previous year with IT, and that was the magic of Marcus because you can't come back from 26 down just through offense. You need those
Shots.
magic. You
The
need
other
those
team cannot
magic.
score. Yeah.
You need something to beat the magic number. Like Joe, your favorite,
Yeah.
like your thing, right? Like the only way to beat the magic number is with magic, and Marcus has that in him. I wonder if that like it wasn't working anymore. Like that's those Marcus Smart spells weren't pulling them out of enough issues. And someone earlier here was like, like what is it time to just like give? Like Marcus was so important and so ingrained that you couldn't just turn it. Like it was never going to be just Tatum's team or just Jalen's team. It was always going to be Marcus's team as well. And I'm not necessarily even saying that's a bad thing, but maybe Brad was like, if we want Tatum and Jalen to but we can't keep relying on Marcus. Like game 6 against Philly, right? Like they lose that game without Marcus. And they're out of the second round. Like there's no way, there's no time for Tatum to wake up and take over. And he's done that the whole 9 years that he was here. Which is scary.
Yeah.
Which is scary because he was a miracle worker so many times.
He's a basketball Rorschach test, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all see the same thing. Like, we all know that he's, we all know that he's a 33% or whatever 3-point shooter. But his impact exceeded his stats so much because he was willing to take risks, because he was just willing to play. Like he was just like his willingness to take the shot. He like in some ways he filled a vacuum, but in some ways I just feel like his willingness, he made himself be contended with out there, right? Like even on offense where the results, the shooting results particularly aren't great, he made himself have to be guarded just because of his willingness to do the thing. And look, I don't know. All I know is that if I was out with Marcus Smart on the floor, would I feel more or less confident, right? Like about us, I'd feel way more confident, man. And whereas Brogdon or like there's any number of guys, right, that like, I mean, at best, Porzingis. Does Porzingis really make me feel like things are getting tight here, man? Like, am I glad I've got Porzingis on my team?
Yeah, if he's healthy, yes.
I don't know.
But we'll get to that. So okay, I just want to make sure that I steer us back in the right direction here. So we are going to get to like the Porzingis fit and what Marcus Smartless Celtics future looks like. But before we do that, let's just hang out in this pocket for a moment, right? We want to talk about Marcus Smart, and in particular, I want to talk about like we've kind of touched on what Marcus Smart means to the fan base and to the Celtics, and we can probably do more on that. But I want to make sure that we touch on like our most memorable Marcus Smart moments in his Celtics tenure. So we talked about the double charges against Harden and the Rockets. I've got some clips, but before I rattle off those, I want to go back to you guys. Jake, is there something that stands out to you, or is there like 5 or 50 Marcus Smart plays that you would highlight as like sort of the best moments in green for him?
Yeah, there's definitely some that come to mind, but like I was driving home from the shops, just the grocery store, and it's golden hour, sun setting, beautiful hills, and I just think as we all do, I know everybody that's watching right now does the same, where they're just driving and they're thinking about the Celtics because that's what we do.
That's who we are.
That's what we do, and I just start thinking about next season and like thinking about Porzingis out there, and like my brain conjured up the Celtics with Marcus still there. And I had to be like, no, he's
Phantom
not.
Limb.
He's not going to. I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to. Mm-hmm. Like he was from the green hair to everything that was frustrating about Marcus was what made Marcus the best. I don't know. Maybe there's something about this that Like he was, and I think Joe, you said it. Like some people couldn't look past the odd pull up three or the pass that he could have just thrown a bounce pass, but he had to throw it like off the shot clock alley oop. Because that's just what makes Marcus who he is. He needs to do all of those things in order to be himself. But game 2, Nets Celtics in last year's playoff run, the game that I was at, 17-point comeback. Yeah. Peyton Pritchard takes over in the fourth quarter, but Marcus Smart has like the Tatum kind of finds him after drawing some attention, and Smart drives the closeout and like finishes his left hand. Who he became great with that left hand the last couple of years at layups, and then up 10 minute or so to go, and then Jalen and Marcus just walking back, just staring at Marcus's left hand, and Gorman's just like
the memes.
Oh man, I have not had this much fun watching a basketball game in a while, and like that's the GOAT Gorman, and so to be there for that and get the memes out of it, yeah, that's one that definitely comes to mind.
Joe, any particular moments on or off the court for Smart that stand out to you?
I mean, you kind of go through. I mean, he threw it off Kawhi's leg. We didn't wind up winning that game. Block on Powell.
The block on Powell.
I have a memory of a play that I can't remember what game it was in, but I just remember watching him read. He basically had to help, and he had to get back to the rim and go with two hands. He wound up breaking. I reckon it might have been against Milwaukee, and he broke up an alley-oop or something. And I just remember thinking his brain on defense is so much faster than everyone else's out there. And that was kind of like, I remember that that was what clicked in the magical thing to me. I was thinking when it first, actually one of my first like mental images that went through my head when the trade came up was like, and I haven't watched this movie in a long time, but you know, at the start of Fight Club, how like Ed Norton's just like talking about his apartment. It's just like IKEA furniture and it's so bland and whatever. And I was like, oh yeah. Now we've got like a whole lot of IKEA furniture. The IKEA furniture Celtics a little bit.
We've got the catalog team.
We've got the catalog. It's like a reverse Fight Club. You know, Marcus Smart was like the Tyler Durden, or is that the Brad Pitt's character name?
Yeah,
I think it is, right? You know, he like makes things real.
I really like it. I couldn't agree more, Joe.
Well,
like I couldn't agree more.
Tatum. He's the fourth best player in the league.
But this is part of what I was saying before, Joe. It's like as awesome as it was to have Marcus as the heart and soul. It's like you kind of need to force Tatum to take some of that responsibility, maybe for him to like for us to win a title. It's always going to kind of begin and end with Tatum as much as Jalen needed. If Jalen was better in the conference finals, maybe this trade isn't happening right now. But it's always going to kind of begin and end with Tatum. Yeah,
we need to be better, right? Like the team needs to improve. So you know, there's cost to that. You can't make the proverbial omelet without smashing the eggs.
Yeah. I was going to say the one play
that to smash.
I know. The one play. Forget who was it? I forget who it was against, but he just dives at the ball, has no chance of getting it, and then the other team like is on a fast break. And Marcus just like gets up, sprints back, and it may have been against Milwaukee. And he just like, and he catches like their like that pass to like the fifth versus fourth man, and he like gets all the way back, intercepts it, and then we go back the other way. And it's just like that. It's like
so many plays like that. So many plays like that.
Yeah,
like the like unlimited Cobra strikes is what we came to know them as just throughout the course of his career. Just like immediately, just like, and he there's that great clip of him. He's teaching like normals like us.
Yeah,
like defensive tips.
The dribble count thing. Yeah,
and he's like about counting the dribble, like some sort of elite Vegas card counter. Like count the dribble, wait till it's like at the bottom of their dribble, and then like just pounce on it. And we saw that so many times throughout the course of his career. We also saw later in his career with the Celtics, hopefully there's still many, many years to go, countless lobs to Rob Williams, Game 2 versus the Raptors in the bubble was another one I had. Just all those threes that he hit. Game 3 against the Cavs in 2017, where he went 7 of 10 from 3. And it was like that minor victory. It would have otherwise been swept by that Cavs team. It was after Isaiah Thomas went out with his hip injury. That was incredible as well. I've got, you mentioned it, Joe, Game 7, the block on Norman Powell against the Raptors. I'm going to run that
Stuff
now.
you dream about. Tatum, guarded by Siakam, gets by him. Tatum, no! And it's into the hands of Siakam. Here comes Powell. Powell with Smart defending. Oh, it's blocked by Smart. What a play!
Unbelievable defensive play by Marcus Smart.
Yeah, insane. The back.
You know what I
pedal-
noticed about that? Classic
How weird is the
Grant
bubble?
flailing about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, the bubble was awesome. You were right on
Tatum get
Grant
a
as
freaking
well.
Foul call. It's been 5 years, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Unreal.
The other one I'll run very quickly. This is part of our intro clip. Is Garnett and Smart being tied in the first of the floor battle here. Yeah, no commentary on this clip. You can see this KG is like being a mirror of himself, and then the mutual butt pat there, absolutely incredible. You love to see it, and like that clip we've talked about.
Phil Pressey came to give Marcus a high five after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that
Walter
clip
McCarty.
is why this podcast is called what it is. So absolutely incredible. There's so many plays for Marcus Smart that we could go over. I would also just say his like the Ime season, his point guard play in the 21-22 season, just incredible. So many sexy passes, and like I think that is probably, as far as like the basketball side of things, like the culture thing put aside, Marcus Smart's play under Ime in that season is what makes this most painful, and probably the easiest to disagree with is just like how good of a playmaker and a table setter and a maestro, we've come to call him, Marcus Smart was in that season. Like that's irreplaceable, especially when you look at like the future moves that we can make now and the salaries that we have that are movable, namely Malcolm Brogdon's. It's tough to see where we're going to get that kind of creativity and that sort of imaginative basketball nature from, and that worries me. But we haven't seen that Marcus Smart for a year, so maybe it's okay.
Ben, do you feel maybe that Marcus Smart's like a lot of his value is realized when Rob Williams is out there as well, and you know all of a sudden he's the only guy who can throw a lob for a start, you know, and when Rob's not out there, it sort of seems to really take a lot. It's one big strength of Marcus's that doesn't get realized as much. High pick and roll game with, you know, and hitting the lob, hitting the vertical spacer.
But like, how can he be the only person who can throw a lob to anyone / Rob Williams? Like, this is Lob Williams we're talking about. Like, first of all, that must be a teachable skill. We have the film. Like, it feels like a pretty basic skill. Like, just throw the ball up there. I understand what you're saying, Joe, but it's a replaceable skill. The skill set that Porzingis brings, and like we're gonna move into that. Like, you know, he has some irreplaceable skill sets that are sort of like unmatched from other players in the league, and we've got the stats to back that up. Whereas, like, if the question is just like, oh, he threw the ball in the air at the perfect time for like a really natural like catch and lob dunker in Rob Williams, like that has to be replaceable. If that's what we're basing it on, like the need to keep Marcus Smart instead of trading him, then that's folly to me. I understand what you're saying, but we should be able to win without Marcus Smart. Look at the Nuggets. Look at all the teams that have won recently. Like, they've won without that heart and soul. Like, they've won without that Marcus Smart player. We should be able to do it in other ways.
I mean, the Nuggets version of it is, it was kind of like Aaron Gordon this year. He was like their version of Marcus Smart. Obviously, he came in later, but like Marcus was the best passer on the team. And like there's an X's and O's, like you're losing the best playmaker, best passer.
He's the most creative player on the team. He's creative. That's his mistake. Like Jalen makes mistakes because he's an idiot. Marcus makes mistakes because he's too creative. you know?
But would you argue that you have to be really creative if you have sort of a lack of offensive firepower, where if you just stack like bucket getters, you don't actually need to be that creative because like you just got guys who can score all the time. And it turns out they can defend as well. Sorry, Jake.
I was just gonna say, like Marcus, like he would be a much more effective pick and roll player if he was a bigger offensive threat with the ball in his hand. Like he can obviously do damage with the ball in his hands, get to the rim, stuff like that. But teams are kind of willing to sag towards Rob Williams, which makes those passes more difficult. I'll bet like this team is awful at running pick and roll. Awful. Like Marcus can do it, and Tatum's probably his next best, which is not. He's fine at it, but like Jalen can't run pick and roll consistently. JD Davison honestly might be the best person left on the team at running pick and roll. I'm not joking. Like that's they like of all the skills people want Tatum to work on, the post game floaters, he should be running 10,000 pick and rolls this offseason. Like that's what we need from this team is more playmaking now that Smart's gone. But yeah, Ben, maybe it doesn't matter now because when the Heat switch or throw a zone at us, now we have a 7'2" dude that can just like shoot the ball in the hole. So there's no need for creativity.
And Derek White can handle it. He's fine. I know he's not like the maestro that Marcus Smart was, but you know, with more directive around and more clarity around what his role is, I have more faith that Derek White, who has shown up in terms of everything that we've asked of him for the most part, like I have a lot of faith that Derek White can fill those shoes. I had hoped that we would sit and just really reminisce for a while on Marcus Smart, but it feels like naturally we're all kind of like we're looking forward.
We can keep doing it.
So
we can keep
We'll
going.
just doing it.
So very
I have
quickly,
another memory.
Okay, go for it.
Remember, he came back in that series when we went to the conference finals. He came back that 17-18 season. He got hurt. His hand got hurt really bad or something before Milwaukee. He came back. Came back in like game. Man, I want to say it might have been game 5 or something like that. Hit like 4 threes, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah,
and dove on the floor first possession.
Dove on the floor, yeah.
I was that maybe when he punched the glass?
It might have been. That was that season. We lost to the Lakers. It was a It
was a Lakers Clippers loss or something, right? And then he was out for like 6 weeks, and those swings kind of happen in that. You know that can happen. We'll have to check on that, but. And then he comes back and he's got the wrap on the hand, and literally the first thing he does is dive on the floor. But doesn't that kind of speak to the Marcus experience? It's like he saved us with the Magic, but like we maybe would have lost that series. We would have won that series in less than 7 if he hadn't broken his hand by punching a window. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So other players, Marcus coming back from an injury, the ankle sprain against the Heat. That was last year.
Yeah. And then we lost.
Yeah, but just that moment, man. That moment where he is like jogging in the back and you can see the look on the trainers' faces. Like they're like laughing at each other. Like, is this guy really going to do this? Yeah. And like they're just like in awe, which is crazy because they train like professional athletes. That's their role. And in that context, what Marcus Smart was doing was still like unbelievable to them, which just shows how unbelievable it is to the laymen like ourselves. He comes out, he hits that 3. Amazing moment. Of course, unfortunately, we lose the game. We end up winning the series. So unlike the Derek White play against this most recent Heat team, it hangs in memoriam for us. But incredible moments. I'd also just add the backdoor passes to Jaylen Brown in the last couple of years, the putback dunk and stare down on Rudy Gobert a couple of years ago. Great play.
Game winner against the Pistons? Was it or an almost game winner? It was like a regular season game. He crashed off a missed free throw.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, there's so many with that. We're just like we're gonna wake up in the middle of the night 3 months from now and be like, oh, that amazing! Like that's how much he means to us, right? Like I think it's just gonna trickle in that way. Unfortunately, there's just too much to recount in one podcast. Anything else on Smart before we move on? We do have future things to get to.
Jake, you go. I do have something. Yeah.
No, you go. Ben's just hanging on. He's like, please, I can't move on from this segment. I need to stay here forever because this is it.
My life.
This is like cue the Aerosmith.
Yeah.
I just want to stay here in this moment forever.
Yeah. I'm working on a big old Smart tribute video, by the way, which will probably take me
Good.
a few more days to get ready, but it's
Good.
coming.
I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep because I miss
I-
you, baby.
Yeah.
My thing. Okay, so this is like a meta take, right? So, fundamentally, like we're sports fans, and I think it accesses like this real lizard brain part of us and these real base like narratives that we cling onto. And Smart is like he's courageous, and there's something in us as humans that wants to attach ourselves to courageousness, right? Like, and that is not common, right? It's a relative term, courageousness, and he is more courageous than anybody else, and that's I want to cheer for a team that's courageous. I would aspire to be courageous, even though I'm not. Like so, I see things. Smart is aspirational in that sense for me, and I think that's why, as fans, like that's what we want. We want our teams to have a soul and a character and stuff like that because it gives it meaning when it's really just sports.
Yeah.
We need it to be imbued with meaning, and characters like Smart and what he exemplifies are what give it meaning.
Yeah, from a roster perspective, 1/15 of the roster has changed, but from a culture perspective and for a perspective of like why we cheer for the team, it feels like 2/3 of the team has been moved away, which is tough to grapple with. What do you think, Jake?
We don't have that now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I love Derek, but there's just something about Marcus's personality. It's massive. Like it's Tommy Points, Tommy Heinsohn, tough, gritty Celtics. But I just keep coming back to when I hear you talk about that, and I'm like, he was so big. It's like, was it too big? Was it too much? And like, this could be I think this is like, it's one of two things, which is not like super smart or anything, but it's like, this is either the beginning of the end or the thing that takes us over the
end
top.
of the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. And it's not really because like Brad's really smart and that even though this is an emotionally massive move, like he didn't really actually give up anything. He actually got stuff back for Mark. Like
Zinger had 2 first-round picks.
Right.
Like it's
but
a good
there's a reason why you go on Twitter, and I've seen a bunch of people that I follow that aren't Celtics fans that have been like, I've never seen a reaction to a trade like this before. Never have I seen a fan base, the timeline, this upset, this distraught, this emotional, and like this girl Molly something. She's like kind of she's good.
Molly
She's
Morrison?
that's the one. Yeah, she's like the Grizzlies riffs man. If I was to, and it's probably from someone from Grizzlies Twitter thinks I'm way off base, but she was like, I'm on the sad Celtics Marcus Smart part of TikTok, and then I had a couple of links to these like Marcus Smart edits on TikTok, and it's just this sad music and Marcus Smart highlights and him diving on the floor and him hugging other Celtics players, and you feel stuff in your body that you just doesn't make sense to other teams, like clearly anyone else, because it's just Marcus Smart. But
yeah, it's non-Celtics fans' first real insight into the connection between Marcus Smart and the Celtics fan base. Like, oh shit, okay, like they were serious.
Yeah, he wasn't just some guy that shot too much or something like that.
Yeah, this wasn't an agenda.
Yeah.
We weren't just trying to prop him up because we're a fan. It's like, no, we love this guy.
Yeah. But still divisive. I mean, look at the comments here. We've got Aussie Phil. Calm down, guys. Yes, Marcus is gone, but Tatum's only 19 with years of awesomeness still to come. Those are facts. All right.
Great could have drafted Mojave King, who I just found out is a New Zealand citizen. as well as being raised in Australia, but he was born in New Zealand and New Zealand citizenship. Got 47th pick, apparently, drafted by the Lakers. So Brad really missed a trick there. Yeah.
Well, we're looking for Ticker.
Yeah, we are
got
looking
it.
for Ticker.
Walshy,
So-
baby.
Yeah, Walshy.
On your Walshy. All right, so moving on to Kristaps Porzingis. So a couple of things here, both from Mark Stein. So Boston was Porzingis's preferred destination, apparently, which is great in hindsight. I would imagine that was also reported in hindsight. And also from Stein that Boston is expected to extend Zinger. So Joe, Jake and I, we've discussed the fit already, and you can find that short clip up on our YouTube channel. We'll leave the link in the description. But Joe, we're keen to hear your thoughts. We've dusted our hands. We've moved on from Marcus Smart. I can't. Like, I'm just saying that I'll never move on from Marcus Smart, but for the sake of this podcast, we have. What are your thoughts on?
You've hit the clicker.
fit?
You've blown up the asteroid. It's
Yes.
It's gonna miss.
Yeah, we've turned the keys at the same time and opened the safe and stashed our emotions in there. How do you feel about the Porzingis fit with this current iteration of the Celtics?
I mean, it's hard for me to disentangle it from my assessment of what Marcus Smart brought to the team emotionally. I just see Porzingis as kind of a bit of a waifish kind of player and physical stature and an emotional stature. It sounds like what it looks like is like they're just trying to build a Missoula ball team, right? A lot of 3-point shooting. He'll do that. I'm extremely unconvinced, to say the least, about the value of about the value of 3-point shooting in high leverage situations. I'm just sorry, guys. I'm just not a believer. I don't think you can have a team that plays the way the Celtics played. I don't believe in that offensive philosophy. I don't think the team has enough confidence in itself to get it done. And 3-point shooting is so connected to emotion. It's so connected to emotion, and it just does, like in high pressure situations, man. It's going to fall apart. But anyway, that's probably a broader comment. And Porzingis seems to me to be like, it does make sense if that's your strategy, that you have a 7'3" guy that can block shots and shoot threes on your team. Like that's,
can I throw something at you, Joe?
Just go for it, man.
Just a quick one. And Brad's literally spoken about this in maybe every interview. I actually don't think it's just the 3-point shooting, and I think there's definitely he likes that and a Horford kind of replacement. But he's talked a lot about the Celtics' inability to score when teams switch and how the Celtics can't beat that stuff. I think we're going to see a lot of Porzingis and Tatum in the post. I do think they're going to go away from as Missoula ball because Porzingis is able to punish switches more than kind of anyone we've had on this team. The problem with everyone on this team is that no one could really get a physical advantage. You switch Jalen, Jason, Marcus, Al, Rob, like you could switch one through like all those guys, and they're all kind of similar. But Porzingis was really good at dealing with switches. So I actually think they're gonna mix, especially crunch time. I think they're gonna try and get more in the paint. I'm just gonna throw that potential theory at you.
Counterpoint. We used to guard Porzingis with Smart. Like, bring it on, Porzingis.
Yeah, but that's Smart there. That's because no one has Smart.
If we play the Grizzlies in the finals, then we can circle back on this. Who else is we don't have to worry about that. I understand what you're saying, but Porzingis gives us more of an advantage, right? And there's some concerns, the injury history. I get that's probably the main concern. Some think that Porzingis can't play with Time Lord, but we've got Horford as well. If we don't re-sign Grant, then we may have other options at the 4 there as well. The Derek White, I think that, like I said, he can replace a lot of what Smart does. Derek White can't guard up like Smart did, but neither can many other all-star point guards in the league. And that doesn't stop them from being in championship contention. So it's not like that's a deal breaker from the Celtics perspective. And then we look at some of the stats, and I'm going to bring this up for like the millionth time in the last week, but these KOC stats on Zinger. So elite pick and roll defender, so 4th in points allowed per pick and roll in the league last year. He figured out how to score in the post, so he was number 1 in post scorers, ranked literally number 1 in post scorers in the league last year at 1.29 points per play. And then in closeouts, he ranked 5th in scoring off of closeouts in terms of defenses aggressively closing him out and him finding a way to score out of that. So he's an incredibly creative scorer, and he gives us a look, particularly in post-ups, that we have not had for a long while now. That you might argue that we should have gone to Tatum, who was like statistically a good post-up player in the last couple of years. We haven't, but you add to the fact that, Joe Mazzulla now has a full off-season to prepare. He now has an established staff with which to prepare, and he has, a very potent scorer and defender, clearly, statistically, to prepare for. I'm excited. Like, there's a lot going in. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential here that we haven't necessarily had as much as Marcus Smart, heart and soul, all of that. I love the guy. I love the guy so much. But there's so much potential here that Porzingis and this established coaching staff and all the preparation that they'll actually have. Joe Mazzulla, for the first time in his Celtics tenure, will have time to prepare. Like, there's so much to be excited for. I think, we can cook. We can cook with Porzingis on both ends. We should be excited, Joe. Your rebuttal now, if you please.
There is a ceiling with this team. There is a ceiling with this team when Porzingis that doesn't exist, I don't think, with Marcus. As amazing as he was, perimeter defense is never going to be as impactful as a real rim protector. And then, Porzingis is. I put the question out on Twitter, and obviously most of my Twitter followers are Celtics fans. And I was like, if you want to try and win a title, who do you want? Porzingis or Karl Anthony Towns? Resounding Porzingis. Shockingly, right. The Celtics fans are all for it. But there's a two-way element to him. But if you like the Rob and Horford lineup, if the Rob and Horford lineup was good, then Porzingis at this point as well is like a superstar version of Al. Like, Al wasn't really able to handle switches last season anyway. So if you're going to play drop coverage and try and protect the rim, Porzingis is the guy for that role. And then you have Rob roaming. Or what's cool about it is you can kind of flip their roles on any kind of possession. It feels like Porzingis could be a roamer as well. And as far as scoring versatility wise, Horford was, even in his prime, was never the type of offensive player that Porzingis was. So there is an offensive ceiling on a team where the reason they didn't win the last 2 titles was way more to do with offense than anything else.
It wasn't that one of our biggest concerns as the Jays ascend here was how are we going to replace Al Horford? Because he's been so integral and we still have him and on cheaper money next year as well, but he is getting older. How are we going to replace his production? And now we've got this 28-year-old, yes, injury prone, but otherwise elite center who can do everything, as we've just seen from the statistics from last year. That's huge. It's a relief as far as the Al Horford replacement. It's a relief as far as, Jaylen Brown has been turning the ball over a lot and being crowded in the paint a lot, despite the attention that Jason Tatum attracts. And now we have this other attention seeker, if you will, in Kristaps Porzingis, which may very well open up the paint slightly more for Jaylen Brown as well. It's healing on many fronts. So yes, I will admit that, I suffer from this Celtics fandom where no matter what happens, no matter what Brad Stevens does, most people listening are like this as well. You end up just drinking the Kool-Aid and talking yourself into it. And that's what I'm doing here live on this YouTube stream. But tell me I'm wrong.
Well, Joe, I'll ask you a question. If Brad Stevens believes in the basketball fit, do you I definitely think there's a soul ticker element that this team's missing right now that we need to find with the new version of the Celtics. But do you trust Brad's? Does Brad know ball basically?
Nah.
Nah.
Not like me.
This guy.
Okay. No, here's what I'll put it back. Do we have better decision making or worse decision making now on the Celtics?
Worse.
I don't
We
know.
don't have a lack of talent, right?
Decisions
We
are
had
worse, but buffer. Like it's like we don't really know how to drive, but the roads are wider, right? And there's less traffic, so we
Our
can,
car
you
is
know,
faster.
yeah, exactly.
Ben's analysis. We just built ourselves a bigger moat around ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Again,
So
tell me I'm wrong.
that lead, we should be hitting the magic number, Bids. So your basic thing is, right,
Yeah.
we'll be hitting the magic number so early that we'll just be wiping teams out as opposed to having actually
Precisely. Yes.
I do think though, like as Marcus, for all of his magic, that he couldn't save the team in the crunch time.
No, he
the-
couldn't.
And so
Yeah.
I do think that like, if that's my opinion, the number one problem with the Celtics getting like to another level is Porzingis gives you like a real option in that spot. Yeah, and Marcus always ended up with the ball for better or worse, and a lot of the time was for better. But yeah, Brad's making a bet that this guy's gonna kind of solve that problem.
Well, proof will be in the pudding. Proof will be in
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's gonna
What's
be
crazy is
spicy first 10 games. Sorry,
the
Jake.
crazy. Yeah, that's the thing. Well, the crazy thing is we have to wait so long for like such a massive change to come to fruition. Like, just cross
How
your fingers
badly
on-
do you guys want like the Porzingis, like knees over toes guy, like injury
yeah.
prevention workout content to start coming out on a regular basis?
don't-
That's what I need. More
I
than
want that
Summer
for
League,
Rob.
that's
Can I have that for Rob before I get it
Yeah.
before I get it for Porzingis? Can Rob play 65 games at 30 minutes a night?
That'd be good.
That'd be nice.
All right,
Joe
so
Mazzulla's got to play him though. Joe
That too.
has a funny thing about Rob. He just didn't seem to trust him. Anyway,
And
that's
Grant.
another thing. Yeah. Wow.
Well, full off season for Joe and training camp for Joe to prepare on like how to interact with people. Full stop. What's next for the Celtics to wrap up here, Joe? Are we going to keep Brogdon? It feels like we kind of have to now because we need like guards and a point guard. What kind of moves do you envision or do you hope the Celtics to make in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm a little bit in the minority here. I'm pretty critical of Brogsy. I feel like the reason why he won't be traded is because it seems like he can't be. Like that seems like we tried to. We just couldn't move him. So I don't know if that situation is just going to correct itself. I don't know. We've got the issues in our roster, really, right? Like we've got the best roster in the NBA. That's why the season's disappointing. I don't know what else you do, to be honest. Sign Ish Smith. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the chat was going crazy earlier about, and this has been the conversation for the last 5 years, and with Marcus on the team, is sign the point guard. Everybody in the chat here, it's clearly Brad wanted to point guard because he tried to trade for Tyus Jones or Jordan Poole. Like, how do we get better shots all the time? That guy doesn't like those point guards do not exist. Like trading for CP3. Yeah, I'm not hitching you think Porzingis is an injury risk. Yeah, Chris Paul literally gets injured every single time when it comes to nut crunch time. Tyus Jones, cool. The Grizzlies have a disastrous half court offense. The reason they're good is because they get out in transition, get offensive rebounds. Tyus Jones is not your answer at that position. Would I feel better if we had also gotten Tyus Jones? Yes, but that would not be why he would not be playing crunch time for this team. The pure point guard decision maker dude is not out there for us to just go get. Like Garland is not on the market. Who like there's like Rondos don't exist anymore. Like they're just not out there. And so, look, honestly, how comfortable I would be trying to upgrade one more like big wing in using Brogdon to do it, and just go Derek, Tatum as your main two ball handlers. And then PP JD Davidson and Yam Madar. Let those three dudes just battle it out for ball handling duties. And if it's a real problem, you can still make another move. Like, and if worst case, you have to keep Brogdon. Like, he was really good. But yeah, I came around a little bit on where Joe was. He's like the stickiness of Brogdon, but it's too bad because the taste in my mouth is from the conference finals, and clearly he was good in the first two series. Like, I would have definitely taken if we just had healthy Brogdon in the conference finals, we probably win the series. It's just because the one thing that still happened, he would give you 12 to 15 points a night on good efficiency and wouldn't turn the ball over. Like, as much
Aussie
as he would,
still in the chat, Broggy and Grant for Giddy. Shout out to Aussie for just being consistent with the bit here.
Yeah, Giddy.
Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, maybe if we throw in PP, we'll get Giddy. I don't know. Maybe that's the sweetener. I mean, like, that's the type of guy. But again, like, yeah, it's cool watching the Thunder be the 11th seed or the 10th seed. Like, we're trying to win a freaking title. Like, getting good shots in times like that. We got great shots when we were the IT. Nobody believed in us Celtics for those years. It's just like we haven't figured out nut crunch time yet.
Do you reckon the Thunder? Okay, I've got some naughty thoughts. Do you? Okay, I'll start this. Do you think the Thunder would trade Jaylen Brown for Josh Giddey, or trade Josh Giddey for Jaylen Brown?
Ooh.
Let's just assume we can make the contracts work or whatever. It's kind of a Bill Simmons trade value.
Let's put them both on like a normal max as opposed to a super max versus a rookie contract.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you think about
OKC,
there's a bit of a skill overlap with Giddey and SGA, right? As far as like they kind of need the ball in their hands, they're playmakers, they're point guards. So from an OKC perspective, would you not rather JB than Giddey in that sense, as alluring as Giddey is?
I love Giddey more than anyone probably, but like, again, really cool, fun times when you're the 10th seed. Like, we know for a fact that Jaylen Brown can be effective all the way through the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Giddey has some really bad defensive stats. Yes, Joe, there's been some not really effective times.
Yeah,
specifically Game 7. Specifically Game 7.
He's like, come on, guys.
Like, he was literally just second team All NBA.
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you're saying. Sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
No. I think it's still Jaylen. All things equal contract wise, it's still Jaylen. But Supermax versus rookie contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another.
But just quickly, there were times during this most recent season where we were genuinely and rightfully questioning who was the better player.
No,
Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think we were. There were times Tatum was slumping hard at times.
Yeah,
at a time where like the masked Jaylen was really, really carrying us. Like those conversations were being had by the majority of people.
Jaylen was better post All-Star break than Tatum was, but like at no point I don't think was I ever like Jaylen's better than Tatum, because I know.
Well, your head's screwed on tighter than mine is, mate. But I was having those dark thoughts late at night, early in the morning, middle of the night. Anyway.
Okay, here's another thought. Do you think Miami would trade Jimmy Butler straight up for Jaylen Brown?
Oh my God.
No, God no.
All right.
God no.
Come on.
No. I mean, that's an easy one. That's an easy one.
Jimmy's so they wouldn't, right?
No. But yeah, that's fine. I don't think anyone thinks Jaylen's better than Jimmy, do they?
No, I don't think so. But one made second team All NBA and one didn't, right? So
well, they both made second team All NBA.
I'm an idiot.
All right, so okay. So we're running over an hour here. We do have to wrap up. I got to go to bed. But before we move on to some key off-season dates and wrapping up, anything else that you sort of envision happening in the next couple of weeks, or that you hope happens? Grant Williams seems kind of. Joe, I know you're a big Grant Williams guy.
My two favorite guys are probably going to leave the team.
Yeah,
I hope we keep Grant,
man.
That's what I hope.
Yeah, me too.
When we get to July,
it makes sense.
All of the talk about is Grant's going to leave, yada yada yada. I think he fits really well with Porzingis. Like that means you could run a lineup of
with all our centers.
all but like Derek, Jalen, Jason, Grant, Porzingis. Great lineup. Grant can play with any of it. I just think, Grant had a rough year, I think, and don't think all of it was his fault. But I'm a pretty strong believer that Grant can get back to like a really solid role player, and I think it's silly to lose him if you don't have to.
He has an
Trey
NBA
Grant-
skill, you know. He has an NBA skill. Not every player that you draft has an NBA skill, right?
Yeah.
He's an NBA level 3-point shooter. He can.
He
build
has a
off
dad
that.
that's willing to come on our podcast as well.
does.
Huge talent there. Derek White also obviously in that category. I would also add to that, sign Josh Richardson with the TP MLE if we can make that happen.
Can we do both? I think that's what we need to figure out between this podcast and the next podcast before July, like the next Friday, because Australia time, because we need to figure out, can we re-sign Grant and use the TPE? I mean, the MLE. I don't think we can, because if we can, then obviously it's re-sign Grant and get Josh Richardson. But I don't think we can.
I think you're right, and I'm very.
I have no idea.
No, but I'm not sure. I think we gotta ask Keith Smith in the group chat.
Yeah, I'll send him a message. All right,
Gillermay Tice is a comment. He's we have a comment in the subreddit breaking. Put an E in that breaking there.
There you go. Shout out to
All right.
Reddit mod, Gillermay Tice, which is a name that I've never tried to pronounce until now. But shout out to G Tice.
Bill Tice.
Dude, Tice on
Billy.
Twitter
Billy.
put out this like Python code to like figure out all of the wings and guards that don't turn the ball over and hit threes. And DeLon Wright came up, and as like another guard that's like very gettable, who'd be like a legit.
I know
third
that
guard.
name. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I recognize that name. Yeah,
He's good. That would be
Suits
like
me.
you just trade Pritchard to Washington because Pritchard will play, and then DeLon Wright's probably more happy in like a bench guard role, and he's like a veteran, taller. Anyway, something to think about.
Something to keep an eye on. All right, some key dates here coming up. So June 29th, Grant Williams qualifying offer deadline. So the Celtics will likely give Grant Williams his $8.5 million qualifying offer, which will allow Boston to match any contract he's offered in restricted free agency. That's the 29th of June. June 30th, NBA free agency negotiation window opens. So Blake Griffin is the only Celtic who was an unrestricted free agent. So, that sort of opens up the market for the Celtics to potentially negotiate to bring him back. I think most of us hope that he does come back. July 1, teams can officially offer extensions to eligible players. This is where it gets really spicy for the Celtics. This is where the Celtics can offer Jaylen Brown that $290 million Supermax extension, which by all accounts will happen. July 6th, the free agency window opens. That's where there's more potential for trades to occur once free agency opens, though they can't be made official until July 6th. Then July 7th, Summer League begins. We'll get some JD Davison. We'll get some Jordan Walshy, as we're beginning to know him. Onya Walshy. And then
Walshy.
October 3rd, huge gap between July 7th and October 3rd is when training camp starts for most teams in the NBA. So a huge gap there, but we're going to be podcasting through it. We've got a lot to get to. That is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to everyone who joined us on the live stream here. We had a nice little group,
legends.
Early in the morning there in the States, or late at night here in New Zealand or Australia. We're going to be on deck all off season, delivering pods whenever anything happens, even if it's just rumored, we'll be here. We're also going to run off-season trivia shows. We're keeping our Get to Know the Celtics media series running. We'll have more original content on our YouTube channel. We're going to keep it going here. It's going to be great. In the meantime, Jake, Joe, love your work, guys. Go Celtics. See ya.